be in the classroom to learn more about this and what it means, because I've always thought kuti amassing wealth is amassing wealth. Azvine kuti nzira dzako dzakamira sei kana kuti wazvifambisa sei, asi apa takutarisa kuti from an African perspective, sevanhu vemuAfrica as blacks, how do we do that? Because it's quite different. A very practical example is a man with large heads of cattle, who we then say, uyu mupfumi. Chaita kuti titi mupfumi chi, hanza ane mombe dzake zhinji, hanza ane mbudzi, hanza ane huku, hanza ane makwai ake. So that's a practical example of someone who has wealth from an African perspective. But there's more. That's simply just the beginning. There's actually more to it as well. We'll talk about intellect. We'll talk about all the other things. My guest this morning, motivational speaker, social entrepreneur, musician. Hey, I find it hard to describe you, Bishop.
Just Maponga Joshua is fine.
Maponga Joshua. Thank you so much for coming through this morning. How do we break the ice, Bishop?
Maybe it's to do my definitions. I think they're always a safe place to start.
Absolutely.
Because I see on the brief I received was talking about wealth and money. Maybe one want to go through maybe the first few minutes to say what is wealth and what is money.
Upfumi.
Upfumi ichikaranga chino bataniza zvose. Asikana kuti upfumi nemari kana upfumi imari. Kana upfumi hwemari, kana kushandisa upfumi kuita mari, kana kushandisa mari kuita upfumi. But I think right there we need in pachirungu to know that wealth and money are two different things. Yeah, because I think money, we're talking about liquid cash, you're talking about paper money, you're talking about a piece of paper that is printed an account on with figures that are on it. And honestly speaking, that's not wealth, because it is wealth in the sense if it is starting to... The wealth of money is the interest that your money is giving you.
Right.
Because now it's birthing, it's growing. And that interest usually ranges between 2%, if you get a really good bank, 6%, 11%, 12%, less bank charges. So if you put $1,000, most likely you might make $20 or $10 kind of thing. That's what we call in my theological space, that is profit. But when you come to real assets, assets don't do profits, they do folds. A fold is taking a seed of maize and putting it in the ground. You're not going to get a seed out. You're going to get a full cob of maize. In other words, the seed is able to duplicate itself and a few times more. And if you take that cob and you put it again into the ground, you might end up with a small little piece of land. And if you harvest from that piece of land the third time around, you might actually need a whole field. Then it means that the initial seed, when placed on right ground, it is able to duplicate and multiply itself. So that when you look at the initial investment, and with time, the man who has given you a seed has given you a forest. Because then it can duplicate itself. So wealth for me is those kind of assets that are able to create and recreate themselves. And when they recreate themselves, they're able to feed you, they're able to have surplus, they're able to be reinvested, and you can actually free your hands and time to do other things that are important to you, and your wealth is actually working for you.
When we take it back, Bishop, to an era where we didn't specifically use money to do business or for our economy to run, what was the point of reference? The
first form of wealth that we have was the currency of the society, which was respect and dignity of other people's properties, and living with that contract in a society. You were able to secure whatever you had and grow it, and it would also grow by itself in a barter system, in forms of exchange. And this kind of wealth is able to be inherited by other children that come after you. Unfortunately, nowadays of education, with 3, 4, 5 PhDs hanging on a wall, you can't leave that in a will for your children. You can't write it unless they're going to take certificates. You can just say my father used to. But whatever your father had on the wall does not come to your balance sheet. as an asset
Yeah.
that you can withdraw from. So we've actually lost value of what is it that is able to birth and recreate and regenerate itself for generations to come. You look at companies like Colgate, you look at companies like Coca-Cola, you look at companies like the tobacco industry in Zimbabwe, the Betts, the David Whiteheads, and other, who have been for hundreds of years. They've been able to, and the people who started these companies have long gone. But the wealth and the employment of people, they've looked after thousands of people. My business sometimes, because the transfer of information, because the boys, the girls, when they receive their father's businesses, they don't care for the IP, which is the intellectual property, as to what was the thought pattern of setting up this business. What services did dad or mom want to give to the people? Where were the suppliers? Where were the consumers? Where were the customers? What was the balance sheet? What kind of credit lines do we have? Immediately a parent dies, is to rush into the estate. First thing they want, you can guess, where's the bank? Where's the account? Who is the PIN number? And they all get to the lawyers. We are now the signatories of the account. So they get into the account, pull all the money out, distribute amongst themselves, get to the crawl, count the cows out, get to the shops, distribute the stock, close of business. And then you understand that it is not, wealth is not just the cash in your hand, it is the mindset of generating legacy projects that, and actually I wish people believed in the Bible. It says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. Then you have lived. When you walk past this road, we can always as Africans start from the bottom. School fees, chimota, pane chimba, pane sofa. There are some parents where a child does not have to start with a car, with a house, with a what. Some basic things are there. Then you free the mind to move into another level of investment. But alas, our children don't know that the greatest wealth you have is to learn what your mother and father know how to do. And maybe you don't have to struggle. I mean, imagine I'm a doctor, medical doctor, and then you decide to become a soccer player. Okay, it's fine. You can go and play. But if you could learn to become a doctor because you are brought up by a doctor, you walk into my shop as a son. This is Jewish wealth creation strategies. Right. Where you find so and so and son, so and so and sons,
Right.
so and so and sons. And you actually hear some of those businesses have been running in New York there for 150 years. The grandfather was a doctor, and the grandfather was a doctor. You find the city, and the grandson was a father, and now the father is a doctor, and now the son. So imagine the beautiful part. You're coming from your university. All you need to bring is a set of stethoscopes. You walk into the shop. Hello.
But wakatokura mushopu uchitoziva kuti ndo zviri kuitwa.
Uri kuinherita database, uri kuinherita maclients, uri kuinherita office, uri kuinherita library, une reference. You've already given help deliver children for generations. People have adopted your brand into their lives. Ngiri looked after my grandfather, Ngiri looked after my father, Ngiri is looking after my mother, Ngiri is now looking after me. And this is a beautiful part of learning to say, how do I plug into what my parents are doing? I know it might sound a bit awkward. I ran away from the same thing. My father was into books and publishing and etc. And I thought, heck, I'll do something else. Now in my old age, all I know...
Now you realize.
All I know is books. And I've done my own 10, 15 books now. I'm writing books and I'm selling, and it's most satisfying because all I grew up was in a publishing space where there was lots of literature. And now I'm able to go back into that literature and use it as part of my public speaking. That's all so you work less when you work with the wind behind your back. You work much more in a difficult space when you are swimming against the wind. And then you have to start paving your own way. When you have accumulated all the resources, your child comes and says, oops, not interested. I want to start my own. So you always find this. So that whole library, That whole database,
destroyed.
and then you come into that account, you want money to buy this, you want money to buy, but the same money you want outside is being made here. So why not come here and make the money?
I think that because that also generational wealth, and when you look at other cultures, how they, like you rightfully put it, have been doing it for generations and generations, and it's much easier, Sometimes we laugh at them, but it's happening for them, and they don't care.
It works magic. Look at the Arabs, look at the Jews, look at the British House, the monarchy itself. We saw them inaugurating the king the other day, and you begin to hear this is from 14 what, this is from 15 this and this. And my grandfather went to Africa in 1600. They collected this 1800s. They did this, and then you look at the opulence of wealth. And when you die, the crown is there, the gold is still in the vaults, and etc. And children begin to grow. Whether they become good children or not, it's another story for another day. But if we are here to be discussing money and wealth, honestly speaking, I think a correct environment for wealth creation is critical. And one issue we will never be able to avoid when you talk about wealth, it is the address where the wealth is being created from. What are the enabling factors for wealth creation? And right on top of the list, it's land. It's land.
Right.
Because that's the address. Whether you want to build a house, you need land. Whether you want a business, you need land. Whether you want to go and open a garage, you need land. You're going to do agriculture, you need land. You can put it in the sky. So we needed to understand also that the science of African wealth was based on assets that are solid on the ground. And then every generation that follows, they did not need. Who takes over the homestead? And when you also die, so you find Marindana Sekura Ripano, Marindana Baba Ripano, Wasukuru Ripano. It creates that connectivity to the soil itself, where you akusukulochera magobo munda akatori mwakare ngwe some food zichiti mvura ichinayali
asivhuriripo.
Continue with it, and for many of our young boys and girls, particularly my 2000 you see, who think, no, I don't need land. I can just do it on the computer. I can do some cyberspace and whatnot. It's fine. You can create money from there. But when you have the money, you cannot keep it in the bank. You need to find a place where you can place your money and then allow that money to grow by itself and create and recreate itself to secure the next generation.
With that said, chii kutidzivirira kuona kukosha kwe this wealth creation based from what was from that African perspective. Tikatangira pafu chapo chii kuti are we so deep down, are we so deep rooted now in our internet and how we are living, because it's so glorious when you're online.
Pakambeta nyaya shuru na gudu vachidzingira na shuru na gudu sangana ni shumba ikabadzingira shuru vapinda mwena shumba ndukisa ruku mwena ndokubata gumburichi shuru manje shuru waga aona pana liwa nazo ka sakuru mabata mudzi sekuru shumba ndokudi ndokutsamwa ndokuti ndokuregedza kuzonodai muri ruoko wewe une makazara mambava tanda chibata kai asina zonyengegwa ndanyengegwa kani kanzi hai bata mudzi ndokuregedza vana veZimbabwe, let's be very frank, atina kubata mudzi when you're talking about land issues. Tabata shuro chai because our mining is there. We look at our heritage as Zimbabwe, our trades with the Phoenicians and the Chinese way into the early centuries of 13th, 14th, 16th century. We're digging our gold, mining it, and etc., farming and eating. We're not a social basket case. We build structures that qualify that here is a vibrant nation. And the question is, where did we get the minerals? Our name of our country is Zimbabwe. So maybe we need to define even the Zimbabwe part to understand that Zimbabwe, because we have 82 rare minerals that are being sought for in the world. So maybe we might need to define our name as a country as to why is this Bughe story, and where are these Bughes found, and what is inside these Bughes. We may just find actually definitions, have the answers to what we are looking for. So land is an enabler. It's not wealth, it's an enabler to wealth.
Right.
Because then you can feed yourself agriculture, you can mine in it, that is mining, you can house on it, that is accommodation, you can. So it is actually gives you an address from where you can function. So even if a boy walks up to a girl, Vaskana, and the boy says, I love you, don't answer like a foolish woman and say, why do you love me? That's a stupid question. The right question is, where do you love me? Because even love needs a physical address where it must happen. It can't happen on WhatsApp. I can't love you on Messenger or on Twitter. You know, I need to love you physically. It's not on a tree. You need an address. So these issues of land are not just superficial issues. Some people might think it's a cliche, but it's actually a critical part. And when you understand colonialism, how it was functioning, you may be able to say, if we are going to liberate ourselves, what can we learn from the colonial system? And then you discover that land became an enabler to the bank. You have land in your name, yes. Then go to the bank. Then I want a loan. A loan to what? Develop my land, develop a business. What are you leaving as surety? I'm giving you my land. How much do you need? 16 million. Take the 16 million, work on it, service the interest. 10, 15, 20 years later, you have paid for. Companies are standing, trucks are running, industries are established, schools have been built, flats have been built. The flats in town. You think someone came from London with a bag full of money? No, they took their land from Norton, which was their grandfather's land. Took it to the bank in Standard Bank. Standard Bank gave them money, build up the flats, and then take the rentals, service the loan. After so many years, loan has been paid for. You have property, reinvest it again. So maybe as Africans, we have not yet come to understand the language of money. Let me say so, because to us as Africans, money is equals to expenses. Munumtema awana ni mari. Izo zukupa chitina so. Kupa bricks. Chinotanga kuya musoro mako kuti, what do I need? Chinja ndofana kutenga. What must I buy? Izo zwi manerano kunuvira watu vane iPhone. Kunuvira wabala matekis, nama Nikes, nizuma glass musuru. In other words, money goes where it knows it's appreciated.
But that thinking, Bishop, that thinking, Makuru Vedu, have you not done enough in terms of preparing us and making us understand? The moment you have money, automatically you're thinking about superficial things.
We are destroyed by the quality of education that we've received. Because by nature we are given dolls, we are given pictures in our books, we are given examples in the lessons. We are brainwashed to be given a picture of what success is all about. So the media stories come into space also. What is success according to the standards that are out there? And the standards we're using, it's New York standards, we're using British London standards, and of late we're using the Hong Kong standards. What are these standards? It's a good set of Gucci glasses, it's a chain on your neck, some sagging trousers, well, funky little pair of techies, convertible car, and that's what we call success. And whereas if you look at an Afrocentric, success is a homestead, success is family, success is cattle in the crop, success is the ability to make decisions within your own estate, success is to die and have no debt, have people not collecting an offering for your funeral. Success is having grandchildren coming to find you, sitting in a place, and you can say, and those definitions of success have been undermined by the academic institutions. Because to us, success is a house in Mount Pleasant. But tell me, when you are 80, 90, will you be able to appreciate and enjoy your life in that house? No. Then at 60, 70, at most, now you're tired. You can't even work. You're trying to go and build yourself a small little house where you're going to retire, where there's less stress, there is less pressure. So why did you kill yourself all along instead of, you should have started here. In other words, if we knew where we're going to retire, maybe we'll start making our investments in that direction so that slowly we actually migrate and unplug from the matrix and get to spaces that can give us much more life. It has been proved by research that many of our parents, immediately they retire, they die after that because they lose sense of life. Conference in flyer manyai muzonzo mdara basara pera mdara chukumra dareshachi you have no plan for your life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately so.
Both creation from a religious spectacle, How does that look like, Bishop? Zvinofamba sei?
From the religious perspective, you would understand the Israel story becoming one of the most fundamental stories in the Black Book, which gets it started, where God is taking land that belongs to other people, and then he's giving it to his favorite children. So the whole Bible starts a war of land and ownership. And then you hear in that land that we're going to be living in a land which is flowing with milk and honey. Now that talks about health and goodness, eating the fat of the land. So and it's be stupid for Christians to think that they can disappear to heaven when they fail to live on earth. The obsession with having a home in the sky, and it undermines our function on earth. When actually the Black Book, if you understand wealth correctly, be fruitful, not fruitful. Be fruitful. Be full of fruits. When you have the fruit full in you, then multiply them. And after you multiply them, then increase. Then after you've increased them, then fill up the earth. And after you've filled up the earth, then have dominion. So there's a recipe right there, which I think Christianity is afraid of building dominion-minded people, kingdom-minded people, who you want to go and live with a king in heaven, yet you can't live with a king on earth. You want to go and have dominion over the angels, yet you fail to have dominion over the birds, the fish, and the animals of the field. So maybe the whole theology thing is gotten us twisted into prayer warriors instead of work warriors. People would rather spend more time in prayer. The pastor give you some oil in my Jesus' mighty name. The pastor give you some sticker on your car, and don't even make money. If those stickers make you have money or allow you to make money, why can't the pastor put those stickers on his car? Then we can learn from example. Why does he sell us the stickers, then he asks money from us? So this is the whole thing. This is a big scandal that is going on here, where pastors are selling religion because people are hopeless. But the Bible does not say, I'll bless your prayers. It says, I'll bless the labors of your hands. I'll bless the sweat of your brow. In other words, if you are sweating and you are not eating, someone is eating. And for sure, if you are not sweating, then don't eat. Because you can't be eating someone's sweat. So we must learn to respect labor. 6 days shalt thou labor. Do thy work. I've said this one time, and Adventists almost killed me when I disqualified all of them from being Adventists. I said, none of you here is an Adventist. Because the Bible says, number one, 6 days shalt thou labor and do thy work. So problem number one, you don't have your work. You're working for someone else. And you know your servants. So you can't come to church because you don't even have a servant. Just you and your wife. And your donkeys and your camels, which are equivalent to cars these days. So if you don't have a car and you don't have means of transport, don't even bother to go to church. And kumbira lift, tuenda ku church, unoendepi? Kana usina donki, usaenda. You should end the visitors. So if your house cannot accommodate visitors, don't even come to church. Who are within thy gates? The Exodus chapter 20. So if your house only has one gate, unoendepi ku church? Visit mufangwana magate. Oh, the eastern gates, the southern gates, the east. So we're talking about an estate here. Estate mindset, that people who own their properties. And by the way, in the whole Bible, God has never used poor people except for illustrations, like Lazarus. But when things must be done, God has looked for people with means, with money, with business. Abraham, Jacob, David. Name even the men who gave Yeshua the grave. Organized men. Who has spoken about Joseph of Arimathea? A man who was a rich man, he even built a grave for himself before he died. And when he heard that this one had died, say, hey, please, you can go and use my tomb. No, that's order. That's order. To us, it might look like suspicious. But if we had believed in the Bible, we'll actually that a man must build his own grave. But the pharaohs of old, they lived to build their pyramids where they would be buried. It shows the clarity. Those who have embraced death have started to live. And those who are scared of death are scared of life.
Are we as Africans not capable of amassing the wealth that we need? Or perhaps we actually are very capable, but we just need to unlock it?
Because our wealth is being kept in banks, it takes time to unlock that wealth. Maybe the rich people are those who own the institutions where we've come to say wealth is here. But if we could look back and say, how do we unlock our resources? It is firstly to have means of production in our hands, then match your resources with your skills to utilize and work on this. I mean, I can't believe this, for argument's sake, that there are boys and girls right now, young men and women, who are working as nannies in Britain, who are wiping old women's bums in South Africa and etc., taxi drivers, but his house and his field where he is a platinum field, a gold field. And the man does not know what he has. And until maybe we can have an educational system that firstly, before you can learn William Shakespeare, how about learning what is in your house, underneath your house, around your house? Then go to school to study. How do I beneficiate these resources that are here so that I can create wealth for myself? I mean, I feel so bad. I feel so bad spending almost 30, 40 years away from home, only to discover now that my whole grandfather's farm is full of gold. Now, 45 years later, we've wasted resources everywhere else. Now I need to put a mine at the farm and start mining. So why did I waste my time? And my children, I want to do this, I want to do this. And you think you want to do this, what? For what? Because I want to make money. But you're leaving money right here. How about we focus? So maybe we need focus, we need education, we need skills. Then comes the most famous things. Oh, we don't have money. The famous thing, we don't have money to unlock those resources. No, you don't need money. A good idea is worth taking to the bank. So what you do is that understand what you have, sink some balls, come up with a business plan, look for partnerships, employ contract mining, get ideas around it. Find out from those that are doing it how they're doing it. Some people have run business without putting a cent into those businesses because the resource on its own is worth something if it is well packaged. So we needed business incubation hubs where the resources, raw as they are, green fields as we call them, can be beneficiated to become brown fields. And from the brown fields, then they can become profitable on the other hand.
You spoke about, going elsewhere. Wenda Joni, wenda Kupi, Makora Kawanda, also not Irish. Kwandaka Vok no for me. And to me, it speaks of impatience. And it also then speaks of another factor that you spoke about as we began, that is time. How much important is time in this whole, because impatience does that nazo how much important is time in this whole spectrum?
My recipe for success is the time plus talent equals to treasure. So time plus talent, or time plus resource, equals to treasure. So you could have the gifts, you could have the resource, but if you don't spend time with it, if you don't invest yourself and spend enough quality time to improve what you have, to me, talents and gifts and resources are like a jungle full of trees. Until you convert them into tables, into chairs, and sell, you can just remain with a bush that is worth nothing. So we have the stones until we dig them up, package them, and make something out of them. They remain where they are. But the question is, are we patient enough to build generational wealth? Or we are running on a petty cash mode. We basically float. Floating where to? I'm looking for a person one day which can sink, because I'm tired of floating. I want to sink. Let me find and trees are the most beautiful illustration for me. You've never found a tree running on the market saying, I'm selling my apples, I'm selling my bananas. And no. A tree puts itself on the ground, sinks its roots deep, gets the nutrients from the ground, produces its fruit, and then those who want the fruits will come here. So here's my simple advice to the young people. Stop running around looking for opportunities. Improve yourself where you are. Increase your value. Those who want you will find you. They'll find you.
Finally, for those cultures that have been passing down their wealth for generations, surely there should be something that they say to them that sticks with them for them to do that for that long.
They speak money at breakfast, they speak money at lunch, they speak money at supper. They wake up their children early morning and send them to the shops to go and start selling, cutting butchery meat. Send their children with cars, go and pick up the groceries, come and deliver them here. They send their children to the kraals, go and vaccinate the cows, and etc. So you find that there's a tradition where every father, every parent, every mother begins to inculcate the ethics of the business correctly to the next generation. The day the father drops dead, the child does not need to scratch their head as to where do I get stock and how do I do the balance sheet, where do I bank, how do I problem ndio kuti vanhu vatema toda kungofamba into the room full of cash, and even when you have that cash, it's not like we're going to do anything with it. It's expenses, because in the back of our heads we have this long list, an unquenchable list of video games, an unquenchable list of wigs and weaves and show off and makeup and party and champagnes and what. Look at Bill Gates, look at Zuckerberg, look at their dressing. Not even a label. Small little t-shirt, $10, $15 trousers. Zuckerberg drives a car cheaper than what I'm driving here. Small little Tesla car worth less than $12,000, and he drives. He goes to work and says, "Hey, munhu mutema ngangobata chibanzi bafana, ngangobata chibanzi bichana. Ndoda Royce, here order Royce kubva kuBritain. Hey, it's a velvet thing. It's in a leather seats interior. Hey, and you wonder, is it a curse, or it's show off, or it is maybe we just have a wrong attitude towards money, like literally for the why. For the why. How many cars do you need? You have 15 cars backed in your garage. How many cars do you need to go to town? Just 1 or 2 cars. Is that not enough? No, it's always about expenses. And by the time you collapse into the grave, you look back and most of that stuff, like poor South Africans and some other countries where most of that stuff is borrowed. You had paid half on that one, a quarter on that one. This one is on higher purchase, and then the bank comes and collects all their goods back to themselves. And what have you done? What have you done? So maybe we need a re-education. We need to teach children financial intelligence.
Our obsessions are wrongly placed.
No, we wired it differently. We have a Samsung phone running with an Apple software. Totally, we have an African child who is running on an American software, on a European software. So it's not relevant. The things that we think are important if we're walking in Brooklyn, if we're walking in Manhattan, if we're walking in the Bronx, and you're walking up in New Brighton in England and Piccadilly Circus. But I can't be telling me what gutu. And you just understand that maybe we don't understand where we are, and what is it that makes more sense and more value. And for me, the richest person is the one who is healthy physically and healthy in terms of relationships, because respect is the currency of culture.
Yeah. Bishop, thank you so much for your time.
Wonderful.
It's always a pleasure learning from you.
Thank you, my brother. 7
minutes before we get to 10, and that's a wrap on Zinde Roots on Amassing Wealth from an African perspective.